And you know what? Let's just not overlook how well Tampa played too, because Mike Evans 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then he had that big 60-yard play to set him up for the field goal to try to win. And Jameis Winston 380 yards. I mean, they were right there, but the guy just man. He just missed it. He just wasn't, he missed the field goal. I mean, an extra point earlier, so you could tell he was off and jittery. But when Bruce Arians, decided to take that delay of game so they could move the ball, he got to, move the ball to midfield, and Jameis took that 2-yard loss on a kneel down. I mean, it was right there. It was all there for him to. But Mike Evans, man, just what a beast. I mean, that guy. I mean, they jumped out 28 points in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Giants just kept coming and kept coming. But, man, that was a fun game, man. Like I said, the first half, it looked like it was going to be a runaway. It was the Mike Evans show.
Yeah.
So what's the game you want to talk about next, man?
Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints and the Seattle Seahawks.
All right. That'll be a fun one. This game was looked like it was going to be a close one early, but there was 7-7, and then when Carson fumbled that ball, Saints picked it up, ran it back for a touchdown, and they'd never relinquished the lead again. I mean, and it was the Alvin Kamara show after that. I mean, good gosh, he just was a man possessed.
I mean, Bridgewater 19 for 27, 177. Russell Wilson.
2 touchdowns.
406. I mean, that's a.
Yeah, that means you're behind if you're having to throw 400 yards, 50 attempts, man. But Kamara, man, he led the Saints in rushing. 16 carries for 69 yards, had 9 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown. But they just when Von Bell picked that fumble up for the 33-yard touchdown, and then after that, they were 13-7. Then Alvin Kamara had the 29-yard pass from Bridgewater. Then it was off and running. Then of course, third quarter, they were the only one that scored in second and third quarter. And Michael Thomas had his 1-yard pass from Bridgewater. And then Russell Wilson, them started to come back in the fourth quarter. But then it was just too far gone.
Mm-hmm.
But 33-27, everybody's saying no Breeze, no problem. I mean, I think being able to establish Alvin Kamara like you did and get that big lead on those big plays, it allowed Teddy just to play within himself to keep the passing game, short and quick throws. And I mean, the
weather wasn't the greatest out there either.
It wasn't, but you figure if anybody's going to have an advantage, it's going to be the team that plays outdoors versus the dome team. But that really didn't prove to be the case. Both teams now are 2-1. This was an upset in my opinion because I think we talked about it. I don't think either one of us gave the Saints any kind of chance.
No.
So now the big game coming up with the Cowboys on Sunday at home, that looks a lot closer now than okay, Cowboys better be paying attention. These boys are, even without Breeze, they're still very dangerous. There's still a lot of weapons over there, with Thomas and Kamara, just to say the least. But it was it just, like I said, it just got away from them so quickly. I mean,
it did
because they were they played gallant, but Seattle, look what they did. They almost doubled them up on first downs. They had 26 first downs, and the Saints only had 15. They had 18 passing first downs. Third down efficiency, 5 of 14 for total plays, 76-50. Total yards, 515 to 265. 13 drives to 9, but 400 yards passing. The one, it was only one turnover, and that was it. But rushing yards, Seattle won every stat, but they just lost. Neither quarterback was sacked. I mean, it was clean up front. It was a fun one to watch though, because like I said, just these big plays, just
one of those games.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there's a few breaks and they all went the Saints' way. So
So what other game do you want to talk about today?
Man, let's talk about the Texans traveling out to the West Coast to play the Chargers. Yeah, this one's shocking to me. You know, the Texans 27, Chargers 20. Chargers lost 2 in a row. Lost this one at home.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I thought with their pass rush, I think we talked about this on our preview. I thought their pass rush would be able to really exploit Houston's offensive line, but
You know, I was really shocked that the Chargers did not pull this one out. I mean,
well, it looked like they was going to. I mean, they jumped out on them quick right off the bat. You know, Keenan Allen, that 7-yard pass from Phillip Rivers, and like, okay, here we go. Then they come back with a field goal, 10-0.
And that's kind of the same scenario that happened against the Lions. And they came out with a high-scoring game, and then, you know, I don't know if their offense doesn't know how to play in the second half or what, because this, you know, Phillip Rivers threw the ball for over 46 times for 318, and Watson threw the ball. He was, you know, 25 for 34, 3 touchdowns. So,
yeah.
I don't know, if I was a Chargers fan, I'd be kind of wondering, like, what's going on? You know, lose back-to-back games.
Right. And it wasn't like, you know, the Texans weren't running the ball on them at all. I mean, Carlos Hyde had 10 carries for 19 yards. And the Chargers, you know, Eckler only had 9 carries for 36. You know, but Keenan Allen had 13 receptions for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Chargers. And Kenny Stills had 4 catches for 89 yards for the Texans. But in that third quarter, man, you know, that Carlos Hyde 3-yard run, and then Jordan Atkins 15-yard pass from Deshaun Watson. Then the fourth quarter, you know, Jordan Atkins again with that 53-yard touchdown pass. They got up 27-17, and then, you know, the Chargers kicked a field goal late to make it look closer than what it was. And I was really had my eye on that one, because I was like, okay, any minute now, you know, the Chargers are going to come screaming back here, but
They didn't.
no, they didn't, and it was them getting all the sacks. I mean, J.J. Watt had 2 sacks, and the Texans had 5 sacks on him as a team. I'm like, okay. I mean, they come out and jumped on them boys. I mean, Houston had 39 yards rushing. You're not supposed to win like that. Both teams, you know, had 60-plus yards in penalties. Both of them lost the fumble, but I think like what we were talking about, the sacks had a large part of it, man. Because the fumbles, you know, neither quarterback threw an interception.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, if I was Houston, I'd be really happy, you know, go on the road, get a nice road win. But, you know, if I was, like I said, if I was the Chargers, would be like, you know, you lost one on the road and against Detroit, and then come home at home and you lose.
yeah, both those games you were supposed to win.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you should be 3-0, but
Yeah.
So, what other game do you want to talk about?
Next one I want to talk about is Steelers and 49ers. Yeah, this was a back and forth game, and it's harder for me to even say this. It's 0-3 Steelers now, after losing 20-24 to the 49ers. 49ers are 3-0.
First time in 21 years.
I mean, this one, you know, it started off like, okay, you know, Steelers come out there in the first quarter and get a couple of field goals. Then the Niners answer back with a field goal of their own. Then finally, in the third quarter, you know, they start heating up a little bit, and Wilson had that 1-yard touchdown run, and they were up 10-0. Then Juju had a 76-yard pass from Mason Rudolph. Like, okay, here we go. And then, you know, they come back 5 minutes later with a 4-yard run, so we're at 13-17. And then the Steelers in the fourth quarter, you know, they got that Dante Johnson 39-yard pass from Mason Rudolph, so 20-17. And they were holding, man, and just, you know, with minute 15 left, you know, Dante Pettis 5 yards from Jimmy Garoppolo to seal the victory. But man, the Steelers just.
I mean, they own the game. I mean, the Niners just had the possession of the game. They had over 36 minutes.
Yeah.
The Steelers had 23 minutes. Here's an interesting fact. Over 69,000 people went to the game, to the stadium, and the stadium only holds 68,000 people. So
Standing room only, man.
Room. So, like I said, first time in 21 years that they're 3-0. Maybe they're the crown of the West, in the NFC West. You never know. I mean, that division's still really tight.
Yeah. 49ers, they're winning close ones. They're just, like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't played a whole lot of football, and he has certainly proven to be a
he's still
dynamic leader at this point of his career.
Yeah, he's 23 or 32, I believe, for 277, so it's not a bad day for him.
Not bad at all. And the Steelers, man, they can talk about, AB being gone and the running back being gone, but man, Mike Munchak is the biggest loss on that offensive line coach, because those two offensive tackles, just their technique's bad. They're not playing tough. I mean, the running game's just not. It's just not getting off the. They're just not being Steel. I mean, with the Castro and Pouncey and those guys, man, come on, dude. There's some money tied up on this offensive line. You should be being able to force your will out there in the running game, but with that 49ers defensive line, DeForest Buckner and all those guys are first round draft picks, D Ford, and they can come and get you, man.
I mean, are you impressed with the backup for the Steelers or not?
At times, he looks, at times he looked like what he was, but 2 touchdown passes, 268. I mean, what do you have? 160 yards passing, 14 to 27. Only 1 pick. Garoppolo had 2. Man, I just think about, Le'Veon Bell. Okay, it was no biggie last year when he set out because Connor, carried the mail. But their running game just cannot get untracked for anything at this point in time. I mean, so like, where is Connor? Why is he not playing like he played last year? Is he just injured, or I don't get the Steelers at this point. I mean
0-3. That's
last place in the AFC North. When was the last time you said that? Last place, Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's been a while.
And man, I just look over at this stuff, man, and seeing, Connor 13 rushes, 43 yards. I mean, man, that ain't gonna get it done. And it was a sloppy game. I mean, I get it. It was and it wasn't like the 49ers blew them off the field, but Steelers hung tough on the road. Probably closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be, but when you're that close, you should win. And the fact that their offensive tackles are that bad, just it just makes it really, really hard for a young quarterback. Because early on we thought, okay, the offensive line, they're not going to miss a beat. They got Connor, they got all these guys back on the OL. They should, and it just hasn't materialized at all this year. Then they lose their quarterback, and like, okay, now we can't even rely on our run game to take the heat off this young quarterback. So
what do you do? I mean,
they better get that offensive line fixed. They better get them boys fired up, but because Pittsburgh's it's a hard-nosed town, and they're not going to put up with any soft tackles like that. So I am shocked. We're sitting here and they are 0-3.
Yep. So what other game you want to talk about?
Let's talk about the Dolphins. I mean, not the Dolphins. Let's talk about the Lions playing the Eagles. This was a fun one.